For more than 20 years, I've been obsessed with guitars. From playing them, to working on them, to buying and collecting them, I've built quite the collection of awesome custom guitars. Now, I'm turning my passion into a profession by seeking out old, beat-up guitars and giving them new life, all while trying to make a profit. I'll be searching everywhere for used gear that I can refret, rewire, repaint, whatever it takes to make it a real shredder. This is Trash to Thrash. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Trash to Thrash with me, Mark Murray. Today I'm going to be continuing on 4 current guitar builds I got going on. We're going to start with the LTD V250 that I started last week in black and white crackle. It's looking awesome so far. Then I'll also be continuing on the Peavey Rockmaster that I started a few weeks back and the Jackson EX Dinky that I'm working on. Then at the end of the episode, I'm going to give you guys a preview of a guitar I've been working on for a few weeks now in the background, and it's a guitar you guys have seen already before, the Jackson CRACKLE Kelly. It's looking awesome. Episode 20 is going to be the season finale of Trash to Thrash. I've got a bunch of insane guitars I've been working on, and I'm going to reveal all of them to you guys finished up. So be sure to tune in to that episode and all the ones leading up to then. I'm going to be giving previews of some of these crazy guitars I've been working on at the end of each episode. I'm also going to be giving you guys a closer look today at my process of clear coating, how I mix my clear, what I use, etc. So that'll be sprinkled in the episode as well. Now, let's get into the LTD V250. This is the LTD V250 that I started working on last week. Built in the year 2000, this thing is now 21 years old and needs some new life. This is its stock, how it showed up in the shop. We stripped it down, gave it a sanding, did some light body repair, then started painting it. The customer wanted me to paint the back, including the neck and the back of the headstock, flat black. Then I sprayed some matte clear on the sides and back. Then I let it dry a few days, masked off the sides and back, and sprayed it white on the front. Then I added on what seems to me like some type of magical paint, a layer of crackle. Watching this stuff dry and create a pattern is just mesmerizing. To see more on all these steps, watch last week's episode. This beautiful neck and headstock have a binding on them, so that's going to add a little bit of complexity to how I'm going to paint this one, especially since it's going to be different colors on the front and back with different sheens. Here on the back of the headstock it has the serial number and the country of origin, so I added a piece of tape to leave that on there. So the binding adds a little bit of complexity on how we're going to do this one. I'm going to start by sanding the back of the neck down, including the binding. When I spray the color, I'll be sure to tape off the binding. But then when I spray the clear, I'm going to want to spray the neck and the binding, so that you don't feel a difference between the two of them. Now the binding's taped off, so we're ready for some black paint. Then of course I came back and added some matte clear, just to give it a little more durability and protection. You'll also notice that I removed the tape from the binding, so the clear is going over the binding and over the flat black that I just painted, so that you're not going to feel any type of transition there. After this, I'm going to let it sit and dry for a few days before I put any more tape, because I still need to paint the front of it crackle. So let's get back to the body, which is back in the spray booth. Just like the neck, only the front of it's going to get the crackle, so the sides are taped off right now because they're already painted matte black. And now it's time to lay on the clear coat. I'm using my HV LP gun, which means high volume, low pressure, and it's powered by my air compressor. The clear I'm using is a real thick polyester top coat, which is nice because you can lay it on real thick and it doesn't run, and it also dries pretty fast, so you can recoat within 15 minutes. It's a 2-part solution. I'll show you more on it in just a minute. And after 6 coats of clear, look at this thing. It's got so much clear coat on it, but since it's got a texture to the crackle, I'm going to need all that clear coat. So as I sand it level, we're going to be left with a nice solid 3 coats at least. I really like the pattern on this guitar. I like how inconsistent it is. There's like really small, tight crackling over in spots like this, and then other spots that opened up quite a bit bigger. I love crazy, inconsistent, wild patterns like this with crackles, so this one came out really awesome. Now I'll leave that to dry for a few days and work back on the neck and the headstock. Remember, the back of it's painted matte black and there's a binding on it. Well, the binding comes around to the top too a little bit. So I masked off the back and the top where the binding is, and I'm going to paint just the face of it. Step 1, white paint. I actually did 3 coats. This was just the first coat. Then 45 minutes later, after the 3rd coat, step 2, crackle. So I doused it in crackle, laid it on real thick, and waited. And this is how it turned out. It does look pretty cool, but it doesn't really match the body, so I decided to give it another coat. The side of the can says that you can give it another coat within 5 minutes, and this crackle stopped changing, so I figured, let's give it another coat, see what happens. Worst comes to worst, I sand it off and we just do it again. And this is what the second coat gave us. It's quite a bit more crackly, still has some really big crackles that don't really match the body, but overall it does look pretty wicked. I like it, so I'm going to keep it like this. Once again, I used my vinyl cutting machine to make a new logo for this one. LTD's logos are typically silver with a gold silhouette behind it, but that wouldn't match this guitar too well, so we're going to do white with a black silhouette. The white looks pretty cool, but with this black silhouette on the edge, it's going to look even better. To make this look good, I'm going to have to line up these two colors perfect and have no gaps between them and no overlap. Luckily for me, I've applied about 1 trillion vinyl wire labels using an X-Acto knife before, so this is pretty comfortable for me. It wasn't nearly as hard as I expected it to be. Yeah, that looks nice. The silhouette looks great. I like how the black silhouette line on the bottom is on top of the white crackle line there. And now it's time for its 6 or 7 layers of clear coat. The vinyl is actually pretty thick, but even with 6 layers of clear, you can't feel it at all after you sand the headstock. See the fuzzy patches on the top of this guitar? When you look close, what it is actually super fine crackling. In person, you don't see it like that. For some reason, the camera picks it up as this distorted little section that looks kind of fuzzy, but when you get close, it picks it up fine on camera. So it's some type of optical illusion going on. Looks awesome in person. You can see the thick clear coat here. It hasn't been level sanded yet, but it's coming together really nicely. Late 90s and early 2000s Korean-made LTDs are some of my very favorite guitars, and this is quickly becoming one of my favorites I've ever seen. After the clear coats on the headstock, here's how it turned out. Again, it still needs to be level sanded and polished, so it'll be nice, even, and flat and reflective, but so far it's looking great. The clear coat on this V250 is looking absolutely insane. It's super thick. I actually did about 6 coats of clear on this thing, and I sprayed them using my HVLP gun and my compressor. What I've been using for my clear on my recent builds is a product by Henson. It's a polyester clear top coat, and you mix it together 1 to 2% of the catalyst and 98 to 99% of the actual clear. And when you mix them together, you got about 30 minutes of working time before it actually hardens in your gun. So you have to mix up multiple batches to do one guitar. I've been mixing it at 1% just to give myself a little more working time so I can get at least 2 coats out of each little batch I mix up. I recently switched up my process. I used to use some 2X clear coat or a 2K clear coat in a spray can, which I've showed you guys on some of the previous videos, but now I'm using something a lot more professional, and it's coming out so much better. One of my friends is the head painter at one of the top guitar manufacturers here in the US, and he gave me some tips recently on how to bring my clear coats to the next level. He recommended I do 6 to 7 coats using this kind of paint over a textured guitar. That's something with stripes, splatter, crackle, anything like that. Maybe 4 to 5 coats over something that's a standard gradient burst or just a solid color. Since I switched to his method, my clear coats have been coming out so awesome, so thick, and a lot of material to work with when you're level sanding. There's nothing worse than spraying your clear coat and then level sanding and burning through that clear coat. You have to either go touch back up, sometimes you even burn through the paint, then you gotta go touch up paint, touch up clear, it's a nightmare. So doing a lot thicker of a clear coat so far has been working out awesome. After a few days of drying, the clear coat's ready to be level sanded, polish sanded, then polished and buffed using compounds. I'll show you guys some of that process a little bit later when we're working on the Jackson Dinky EX. But for now, let's get into the Peavey Rockmaster. First things first, we're going to work on the headstock and add the tuners. Last week I showed you guys my buffing process and how this one came out, and it's looking pretty good. But I even did a little more buffing and got it even nicer. Now it's time to assemble it. I'll be using my favorite tuners, Goto, made in Japan. Doing all gold on this build. Replacing tuners is a really easy, good first mod to do on a guitar. Most cheaper guitars come with really bad tuners, so buying some nice Grover, Hipshot, Goto, something high-end, you're going to notice a big difference on your guitar. But it's important you get the right size because different guitar brands use different size holes for their tuners, so you want to match that up with the brand that you buy. To change a set of tuners, all you have to do is use a wrench to loosen the nut on the front, unscrew the screw if there is one on the back, and they pop right out. You simply slide the new ones in, maybe put in a retaining nut or a washer, and then a nut on top of that. You'll find many brands use different locations for the mounting holes, so you'll want to use a straight edge and line up your new tuners perfectly straight. A couple of my favorite tools to really speed things up are an electric screwdriver like this one from Black & Decker, a socket to drill adapter like this, which we'll install right here, and a 10mm deep socket. Put that right on the end of the adapter. Now we can loosen and tighten the nuts on the tuners very quickly. Now we need to add the holes in the back. So to drill those holes, I'm going to use a set of calipers like this to measure the screws we're going to screw in and then find the correct drill bit. Since the holes don't match the original factory ones, going to drill new pilot holes and then put new screws in. Last but not least, up on the headstock I added a nice new set of gold rolling string retainers. This thing looks great. The dark blue and purple works so well with the gold, it's very regal and royal. The Peavey Rockmaster is coming out awesome so far. I really love the way this color is turning out and the gold hardware is looking insane. The headstock's looking awesome, but I still got some work to do on it. I still got to make a nut for it. I still need to finish off the hard shell case for it, and I need to wire it up. I'm actually waiting for the pickup to come in still. Delivery times on a lot of parts have been delayed lately because of COVID, so I'm waiting for the pickup, but like I said, it's not really holding me up because I've got other things I still need to do to it, but that's just how custom guitar building goes sometimes. Parts aren't always available, things take longer than expected, and it's just part of the game. So let's jump on into the Jackson Dinky EX now. Last we left off with this, I was just about to spray the clear, and now I sprayed the clear. Like I did with the body and the headstock of the V250, I did a solid 6 clear coats on it. Then I began the very tedious step of level sanding. It's not so bad on a headstock, but on a body it really does take a while. Then it was on to the polishing phase, which I'm currently doing by hand, but I'm investigating other ways of doing this right now. Before reassembling the headstock with all its hardware, I gave all the hardware a good cleaning and wiped down with a nice soft towel. Then I reinstalled the tuners, the truss rod cover, the Floyd Rose nut. Using the tools that I talked about earlier to take apart or put back together a headstock, you can do this in just a couple minutes. But using wrenches and hand tools, this takes like 20 minutes. So if you do this often, I highly recommend getting those tools. Look at this thing, it's beautiful, isn't it? The gloss turned out amazing on it, the logo looks excellent, and I really like the black hardware on it. I'm obsessed with this clear coat and polishing technique, it just looks so good. Alright, so we still got a little bit to go on the Jackson Dinky EX, but man, this thing is coming out awesome so far. By the way, I want to say thanks so much for watching, guys. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I got a few more things to show you, but I figured I'd just throw this in here. So hit that like button if you want to help out the show, and leave your comments down below. Anything you guys want to know, any questions like that, write them down there, and I usually answer them over on my Sunday show, Sunday Morning Shred, which I do here on the same channel. I answer your guys' questions, I talk about behind the scenes of Trash to Thrash, I show viewer guitars, I do Q&As, all kinds of cool stuff over there. So be sure to check that show out as well. Keep helping me spread the word. Tell your friends about the show. Put it on your Instagram stories. Post about it. I really appreciate all the support you guys have been giving me. If you guys want your guitar customized by me, right now there's about a 5-month wait time because I have a ton of guitars here and I'm recording all of them to go on Trash to Thrash. So if you want your guitar built by me, fixed up, painted, you want to see it on the show, send me an email, mark@guitarguts.com, and I'll write you back. We'll figure out what we want to do with your guitar, and I can even give you some ideas if you don't know exactly what you want, and we can brainstorm and come up with something really awesome and special that's personalized to you. Alright guys, I told you I'd give you a preview of how one of my shop guitars has been going. I've been working on this one in the background for quite a few weeks now, and you saw it on a previous episode quite a ways back here on Trash to Thrash. This is the Crackle Kelly. Since you guys have seen this guitar, it's actually had quite a bit done to it, including a brand new full paint job. I didn't love the way that the crackle turned out on it, and I also didn't love the way that the color blend worked on it. I also didn't like that the clear coat cracked a little bit, so I got some weird wrinkling in a spot on it, and I tried to do my best to repair it. I sanded it down, I sprayed more clear over it, I did everything I could. I even sprayed some touch-up, and I never got it looking right. So I said, screw it. I had my shop assistant Ryan sand the whole thing back down and started again. I actually even used a slightly different color. I found a color called Fiery Orange that I mixed in there too, and it looks awesome. In my opinion, it looks way better. The crackle pattern looks awesome. It turned out better than before, and I put an even thicker clear coat. Like I said earlier, 6 to 7 coats went on this thing, and it looks awesome. It's ready for some level sanding, some polishing, and all that stuff. Still needs all that, but it's looking so good. When you're gonna build a custom guitar, you gotta do it right. If something's not turning out right, you gotta fix it or just sand it down and redo it. I mean, when you break it down, it's really only a few hours to sand it, repaint it, and then re-clear coat it. So having just a couple more hours into it, it's totally worth it at the end of the project. With the guitar painted like this, it totally achieved the lava magma look that I was going for before, which I didn't really get. So I'm really happy with where it's at, and like I said, episode 20, you guys are going to get to see this thing all finished up. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think of this episode and some of the guitars I'm working on, and some guitars you'd like to see me work on in the future. I see a lot of requests for me doing basses, left-handed guitars, SGs, a metal Telecaster somebody asked for. A lot of BC Rich people out there. I've been seeing the Warlock requests and all that kind of stuff. Keep them coming, guys. I'll see you guys very soon on the next episode of Trash to Thrash. By the way, the Guitar Guts pedal is still available. We have almost none left, so if you actually want one, be sure to go to guitarguts.com, click on Guitars for Sale to buy a pedal for some reason. Yeah, that's where the store is. And buy the pedal on there. It's 125 bucks. It's got a kill switch and a booster in one pedal. My two favorite effects to have on a guitar are now available in a pedal in an awesome flat black with red blood splatter finish. So, go get yours on guitarguts.com. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you very soon on the Sunday Morning Shred, and again next Thursday for Trash to Thrash. Rock on, my friends.